All right. It feels good to win again. I don't know how many of you looked at number 1 Philly on the schedule and said, yep, the FCC is going to rock that match through and through. Well, they did, and I had to throw out my 5 prepared show notes, except expected another draw. I even had some working titles like Philly and FCC form a draw union. Padawan Noonan and Master Curtain balance out the force. The curtain closes on Noonan with 1 point in the window. Philly and Cincinnati players refuse to cross the Union picket line for 3 points. Now, all I have is a little bit of extra joy, but a much lamer title of something like, I don't know, FC Cincinnati busts the Union, which I'm being told might be too political somehow. But you can't stop me, co-hosts. Not yet. I get a whole minute here before everyone else has time to tune me out and listen to you guys. Well, I might have gotten slightly carried away there. But let's move on. What a fun show we have for you tonight as FC Cincinnati shoots back above the playoff line. But man, FC Cincinnati have no room for mistakes as that middle of the field gets more crowded and crowded. And whatever teams keep their foot on the gas are going to make it at the end of the season, and the ones that slip are just going to go right back under that playoff line. So let's get our other co-hosts in here, and we're going to dive into all of this. Philly, USMNT national team scouts, the rise of Barrial, and all kinds of stuff. Stay with us. My first co-host was kicked over to this show by Justin Hoyt, who is trying to take over and get his own show. Welcome in, Coach.
Happy to be here, Boston. You know, it is me. I am in charge of that show. So if I got kicked off, that means I kicked myself. Well, okay, never mind. Justin did it. You're right.
I don't know. All I know is I got a graphic earlier that said Talking Tactics with Justin Hoyt. So just trying to warn you, man. That's all. Next up, we have the man that works behind the scenes to crack the MLS Vegas betting code so we can all get rich and retire next year. Ken Hedger, how are you, my man?
Or broken on the food line. Boston, I'm surprised you didn't come up with Cincinnati drops or Harris Medunjanin gives the union their final curtain call.
Ooh, yeah, that's good. That's
Calm
good.
down there, Boston, with your name
yeah
pronunciations.
I'm still working on MATT MIAZGA, so I had to say that 15 times before the show.
It's good to be
all right. And then we just have Brian. How are you, Brian?
Good, man. I wanted to say that I think FC Cincinnati land needs to understand that I think Brandon Vazquez is misunderstood, or part of his game's a little bit misunderstood. He's not doing the Superman, pose when he scores. He's doing the demand better pose.
If you're listening to the audio podcast, Brian Weigel is showing off his Ken Hedger Demand Better shirts we ran, last year or the year before?
Yeah, it's been a while, but I had to crack this out because, Sir Ken Hedger is going to be on this show and got his wish. So
yeah, those sold out on the CST store. You can't even buy them anymore. Those gone.
Because they sold out, yes.
Yeah, that's right.
A run of 12.
Well, we thank you for tuning in tonight. Let's do this. This is going to be more of a fun show. Got the win. We got the hallelujah intro. It's been a while since we've heard one of those. Philadelphia Union, number 1 seed in the East, come to TQL Stadium and just get railroaded 3-1. We were talking a little bit about the show, about how lucky Philly is even to get that one. But let's dive into your best and worst. Brian, you're up first.
Another misunderstood guy on this team, Jeff Cameron. No, I thought he played inspired. I thought this was, I tweeted this out, I think this is his best match of the year. I know coach is wanting him to step out more, be aggressive, and I thought he did that very well, taking command of the back line. That's sometimes a little bit too much. Of course, he got a yellow for steamrolling a guy, but overall, I was very impressed with how he organized that defense, shut down an amazingly hot attacking unit for Philly. So I think there's not enough being shouted out about his performance, especially with some competition coming in this week with MATT MIAZGA. I think, worst overall, I don't think it's bad, as though it's okay. Like, people were calling for Johnny Nelson's head after that goal. I don't think that he was necessarily put in a good position by the goalkeeper on that laser pass to him. But I just think our group right below our starting 11 is just not up to snuff yet. So, while we're celebrating Moreno's performance, Obi's performance in a league like Major League Soccer, that drop-off's big. And I just wish those guys could see a game out better than what they did versus allowing that goal and then allowing the rest of us to sweat for the next 20 minutes.
I have a hard time throwing shade or blame when it's a deflection goal because those can just be anything. They're wild. They're wild cards.
Yeah, that's fair. But also, I think the attack for Philly was a little bit stronger in the last 15 minutes of that match. There's a couple deadly dangerous free kicks, a couple dangerous runs. Now, I just wish those guys could. I don't know if it's an effort thing or a familiarity thing or just guys being out of position thing. But I just wish that unit could do a little bit better. And I think when we get into the stretch run where we have game congestion as well as the congestion in MLS Cup playoffs, that depth is going to be sorely needed.
Welcome into Cincinnati Soccer Talk, where we score 3 goals and talk about the one we didn't. Ken, give me your best and worst.
Well, my best was stadium vibes. Actually, that was probably the most active and hyped stadium has been, I want to say, ever for TQL at least. If not, there might have been one other game that was close besides USA Mexico. So that's my best. The worst, since you guys kind of stole it, which was we just can't see a game out and get a clean sheet. I'm going to change it to something else. Worst, I go sit at my stadium seats and Boston doesn't show up. Dude, so Boston's in front of me and I show up and Boston's not there. So
you're gonna call me out like that? Why do you think the club did so well
exactly
this weekend? Yeah.
So
have you seen a win yet there, Boston?
Yeah, I certainly have. I'm at every game, but this was the one game. I had a friend come in town and I said, "Hey, let's go to the FCC game. You've never been to the stadium. It'll be cool." And he looks at me dead in the eye and he's like, "I despise soccer." He was like, "I'm not going with you to that game." He's like, "I would rather sit at your house and do nothing." So I chose to sell my tickets and stay at home for the sake of friendship. And you know what I learned? Friendship is overrated because I missed out on the best freaking game of the year and I had to watch it on highlight reels. Goodness gracious. I'm so
Wait
mad.
a second here. Ken's worse is that he didn't have to watch a game hearing Boston cheer for Roman Salatino and Brandon Vazquez and the likes of those guys. I don't know what you're thinking, Ken.
Oh man, that's brutal. I don't know. All right, are we skipping coach's best and worst now? Because I feel like I should, but I won't. Coach, give me your best and worst.
My best is Pat Noonan. I'm changing it up from what I put on the rundown. I think that his tactics in this game were spot on. I think that he knew with Philadelphia coming in and playing that 4-4-2 diamonds that there were going to be spots in the half spaces in behind those shuttlers for Philadelphia. He had Lucho drift wide and they picked Philadelphia apart. He kept his team on the front foot constantly and started showing some emotion. You saw him cheer and when they scored some goals, getting into the celebration a bit, which we don't see often. So my best is Pat Noonan. I'm going to second Brian with the bench depth being the worst, mainly, seeing guys like Nick Markinek get hurt, not be able to be there to come on. And then now with Harris Medunjanin leaving, and it seems like late in games when Philadelphia really ups the tempo in about the 63rd minute, FC Cincinnati just had to kind of hold on because guys like Yuya Kubo, who should be coming off the bench and raising the level of play, being fresh players, just aren't doing it at the moment.
All righty. We got a bunch of people tuning in here tonight. And of course, we're going to go to you guys with your best and worst. Clifford Adams, greatest game ever, worst, nothing. Man, Clifford, can't find anything bad to say whatsoever. Then Jeffrey Tebbets, of course, chiming in with Boston, please stop with your cheesy captions at the opening or else I will go back to New England. That may not be a threat there, Jeff. No, I'm just kidding. I love you, man. Rupesh, most complete game of the season. Worst, feeling like the club plays to the level of the competition. Pressure playing to the level of first place is a bad thing. Sign me up, sir. David Moore, best, we won against top competition. Worst, I was out of market and couldn't watch. Yeah, David, that's my excuse too, man. Dan Alberts, finally a formal send away for a player and a great player welcome. Worst, can't think of any. Dude, I didn't even think of that, but Dan Alberts is on to a point. If you're MATT MIAZGA sitting in the stands for that match, how pumped are you to hit the pitch next week, right? Jason Yates, best, finally felt like we got to see our offense firing on all cylinders. I agree with you there. Worst, even after a win, still feeling like FCC gets screwed by the refs way too often. Jason, I have a worst for you, man. It's coming. That dude was awful as usual. Well, if you have any more best and worst, throw them in the chat. We love reading those as we do the live show. My best, though, is a home win. I have said it over and over again. FCC is not going to the playoffs without these, and we need more of them. But, boy, that was a big start, and I did not think it was coming against Philly. So I am pumped, guys. I am pumped about 3 points against Philadelphia Union. My worst, though, the referee victim complex. This isn't targeted just at you, Jason. I've just seen a lot of this. Boy, we got to get over this, though, guys. Like, I get we got a bad shake. Like, I get it. We got some bad games. It sucked. But I felt like the referees did an okay job. When you lose 3-1, you can't complain too much about the referees
When you win 3-1?
Yeah, sorry, we win 3-1. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. We won. Everything's good. We just got to let this one go. We can't get all mad about everything all the time. We got to pick our battles, Jason. We got to pick them. And that's where I'm at. We'll let the referees slide.
Does Boston sound like he's in the 60s? Like, dude, yo, man, let this go.
I'm feeling good. We're talking about playoffs. Playoffs. What's the how'd that NFL coach say it? Anybody remember?
Not doing it.
Playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. Is that how you do it?
Yeah.
Well, I know somebody's going to make a video of one of us doing that. So,
all right, let's get into this game. I'll shut up. Let you guys dive in. Hot topics. First off, I heard there was a U.S. men's national team scout in attendance. Our buddy Jonah from KLR was sitting right next to him. Brian, tell me about that. I think.
Yeah, how about that? U.S. men's assistant coach, I think Anthony Hudson, who apparently, I guess, also spoke to Brandon Vazquez this week. There's actually a story just on MLSsoccer.com, I think, posted, I don't know, an hour ago. This is 9:15 on Monday, about how he's been speaking to the assistant coach or the coaching staff, and that it's possible that it's very possible that he gets a call up here in September. So very exciting that he's getting, I guess, is it fair to say serious looks? I don't know if Greg Berhalter was doing lip service to us back in June, like, oh yeah, Brandon's doing good things, but it feels like they're really doing the homework on him now. And so I at least I like to see that. Now, did they really need to be doing the homework on Brandon Vazquez 3 months ago? I think there's an argument to be had there that, maybe he's on a heater or maybe a little fluke, but I think he's shown through 20 plus games, at the 24 games, the guys for real this year.
Is he on a heater? I mean, he's been playing this way for a year now.
Well, but that's what I was saying. If it was just like a 10-month, from March, April, May, June versus sustaining that through, all of July and August.
I mean, his off the ball movement is, I don't want to say, don't want to get too high on it, like a second to none, but it is so good that he does so much with that to help everybody, including himself, change the dynamic of this team. So, I mean, I don't know why they haven't been looking at him more, sooner. So I'm sure coaches.
Different if the U.S. men's national team had like a grizzled veteran striker who was on form, it'd be totally different. But not saying that Brandon's going to come in and be the number one striker in the pool. Maybe he is second to Jesus Ferreira or somebody like that. But there's nobody else that is eligible for the U.S. men's national team that is lighting it up consistently the way he is. And maybe Ken won't say it, but I will. His movement is second to none. There's not anything that he could do better in terms of movement from my eyes. I mean, there might be a play or two where he misses something, but his movement is so good. He's pretty much spot on with all of his runs. He sets the defenders up. He cuts in front of them. He goes to the near post when he should. He drops off the back shoulder when he should. I don't notice any notes that I would give him if we were watching film. I'd just say, hey, keep doing what you're doing, man.
Devil's advocate here, and I want to preface this with, I tried to encourage CST to do a Brandon Vazquez to USMNT.com website. Devil's advocate, the guy does have mistakes, or like he did this week when he was trying to figure out, okay, do I want to volley it or do I want to head it in? And he had that repeatedly last year through the last 7 games. Now, he still played very well. His runs are very good, but I can see why he's getting the attention, having the coach fly in to watch him now versus, 3 months ago.
Devil's advocate.
Hey,
there's nobody in the
US.
I was going to say that.
PFOC won the Golden Boot over in.
I'm just saying, there's nobody in the U.S. men's playing pool as a number 9 with the same body style as him. There's nobody. I can't.
That's the Doyle argument, right?
DK and PFOC? Or are you saying like mobility? Are you just saying big body?
Size, big
body. Like a big hold up.
DK
like
are just big.
PFOC doesn't. I don't rate him compared to Vazquez.
Brett and I are having the same argument today. I'm a big PFOC guy.
The big difference between PFOC and Vazquez is all of the things that Vazquez does off of the ball in terms of linking up play. PFOC is much more of just a finisher. He's going to flick balls on. He's going to finish in the air. Brandon is actually a really good passer and a pretty fair dribbler as well. The big thing that Brandon has to do to get better, in my opinion, is improve that first touch. If you go and just watch every ball into his feet, man, they bounce off of his feet like his feet are made of concrete sometimes. And he is quick enough to get back onto that ball often, which is why it looks okay to a lot of people. But international defenders are going to slide right around him and put a tackle in if he lets that ball clang off his feet like that.
Yeah, I think it was at the second goal. He held it up and it kind of got stuck under his feet, and he finally got it off to Acosta.
My biggest knock against the FCC attack this year was that, and don't get me wrong, it's not a knock because I love it that we play through the middle so much, but our weakness, in my opinion, was that we don't cross. And that's not it depends on what kind of style your team is. That may not be a weakness, but I just didn't think FC Cincinnati had a lot of crosses in them. And then the Brandon Vazquez goal for this week is that beautiful cross from Barreal and Vazquez.
Last week too. Right, Miami.
Right spot, right time. So that kind of proves to me that he can play that way. I didn't know until these last couple of weeks that Brandon was that guy. He's been perfect in the middle. He's been perfect on cleanup balls. He's been perfect on headers, but shooting those balls in from the side, and he can slide in and kick them with his feet. I don't know.
The only thing that makes me a little bit nervous, and Coach, please correct me, is we're playing with 2 forwards, Lucho behind him. It's not necessarily the same style that the U.S. is going to employ. Now the pressing and everything, that's absolutely positive in his favor. But right now he has Lucho making dangerous runs. He's got Brenner. His mobility and runs in the box have been ridiculous too. It concerns me a little bit there. I think Vazquez should absolutely be in the conversation right now. There's no reason why he shouldn't be. All-star skills challenge guy now. But I just still he's a fringe. He's right on the fringe.
If Vazquez was the kind of player that needed someone to take attention away from him, like Brenner needs a guy to pull some attention away from him because it's a smaller guy. He doesn't hold the ball up as well. Okay. Then I would agree with you. But the way the U.S. men's national team play, with the way their wingers come inside so frequently, Vazquez needs people to combine with, and he'll get that with those wingers. I'm less concerned about that. I'm more concerned with some of the things that he does well in terms of strength and speed, where he can boss some MLS center backs. The international center backs are going to be stronger and quicker, and he's not going to be able to rely on those things. So, you got to give him the shot to see if it's the case. But I don't know if he gets in, if he'll look a little bit like PFOC, tearing it up in his domestic league and then gets with the national team and kind of falters, or if he'll be, do a great job. But I think, give him a shot in the September camp to see.
Somebody said he was rivaling. I can't remember who it was. It might have been one of the MLS guys, that his offensive statistics are rivaling like non-penalty adjusted, whatever. I think Clint Dempsey season and Landon Dodd. So that's pretty good company.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
Doyle. That was Doyle.
Doyle
Yeah.
said it?
Yeah. I think he, from the U.S. men's national team perspective, he is not going to be a starter. I think he's the guy you bring off the bench when you're down a goal and you need that body to maybe do some hold up play. And I know his feet aren't the greatest and he needs to work at it, but he just brings a different athleticism than what's on the roster and has the movement, the intangibles, as coach says, other than PFOC, to open up even, I think, other U.S. players, getting the ball. So,
man, Ken, I don't know, though. I feel like FC Cincinnati used him in that role, and it did not work anywhere near as well as putting Vazquez into the start of the game. He needs that lead up time, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, he's got to take what he can get. You've got to earn that. And I have there's reasonability here, I think, at this point in time. But
it's also tough to compare Brandon Vazquez's former seasons. Think about the teams he was on. I mean,
I know what you're saying.
Nobody was scoring for those teams.
Yeah.
Do you think Brandon's going to complain that he's only gotten 15 minutes on the U.S. men's national team in the World Cup? I don't think so.
I will complain.
I mean, he'll be happy, not satisfied, but happy to be there. So
just pull Julian Green and make the most out of your time.
Exactly.
You guys are talking about the help Brandon has, and I really want to dive into that because I think we are seeing breakout Barreal. If you didn't believe in Barreal before this match, you better be on the Barreal train at this point because he is creating goals. He is scoring goals. He has come into his own. And man alive, he created the Vazquez goal. He cut through the middle off of an Acosta ball. Brian, is he the key to this late season?
Who knew the left back that I've been clamoring for months was on the roster the whole time?
Are you talking about the MLS Team of the Week?
Oh my God, my man Alvarito. No, he's been playing real well. I'd love to hear Coach's thoughts on why he's playing, to this extent, and if he can keep it going, or is there a way to mark him out of some of these matches?
I think the interesting thing that I'm seeing with Barreal's play, we all know what he can do offensively. That's not new. But the positions that he's getting in where he has a chance, the pass into Vazquez, I would take, nitpicking here, but I would say it's not a cross because it was on the ground to the near post. It was just a really good pass. If you watch the pass before that Acosta laid into him, it was so perfectly weighted that Barreal did not have to take a second touch. He could watch that run of Vazquez, pick his spot, and deliver that ball in there. And so when you simplify the game for Barreal and let him play with fewer touches, he does a really good job. When you face him up to one defender and ask him to go at him, he does a really good job. It's when he starts trying to get out of pressure of two defenders, when he starts to do too much, you start to see some of those cracks, mostly just because he's a young player. Defensively, what's really helped him is having Ian Murphy behind him instead of Tyler Blackett, because Murphy is much more aggressive pressuring, which makes Barreal able to defend like a wing. When he is a winger out there defending, he has a left back behind him to take if he gets beat, there's somebody there. Well, now with Murphy being ultra aggressive out at that left center back position, it allows Barreal to defend like a winger and go really high press on that outside there and know that Murphy's behind him to back him up.
What do you think about Wobodo, though? I mean, I feel like he opens up even Barreal's abilities because he breaks the lines dribbling. And I think Doyle actually brought that up as well, but he's rated really well at being able to do that. And then, he does hold on to the ball till the last second and finds that guy. Yeah. And I mean, it's like, he is incredible.
Yeah, I think anytime that you're simplifying the game and when you break lines on the dribble, it pulls defenders towards you. So again, going back because it's a really obvious example, Brandon Vazquez's goal. Acosta dribbles from outside to in and pulls a defender. So then when he's able to slip that ball into Barreal, Barreal can just one touch cross it there. And it's like a lot of things in soccer, right? When everyone does their job, everyone's job gets a little bit better and everyone looks better. When Tyler Blackett came on in the second half, he looked great, I think. And it was no coincidence that everybody else was feeling good and playing well too, right? So I think Woboto's a huge part of it. Same defensively, going over there and helping out in the middle. I think Moreno being back and how positionally sound he is helped that out in the last game. I think that a lot of things are clicking right now. I'm interested in Ken's thoughts about Barreal for seasons coming, because, if you're not going to play him as a wing, he can play a wing back. I don't think he can play a traditional left outside back. So, from there, you got to wonder, what is the play with Barreal long term?
Well, what's the play with Mata, right? I mean, does Matarrita come back in and take over that position? And I actually like Matarrita when he's healthy better than Barreal. That I know I'll get shot for right now for saying that.
Yeah.
But I think that what's the setup, because he doesn't fit a diamond, in my opinion, either. So I sit there and go, do we go to the empty bucket in the 4-2-2-2 and play Barreal inverted and Acosta on the left, sort of wide left, and Barreal wide right? I struggle to see where he fits in a traditional format. That's all.
This is going to be unpopular, and I'm going to say the same thing about a couple other players later. You do what the U22 roster spot was designed to do. You sell the player. Make money, you reinvest it, get another great.
You're selling Barreal?
I don't want to, but that's the logical play here, right? If he doesn't fit, he's producing at a very high level, you either go sell him within the league like you almost had the ability to earlier this year, but except for double the price, or you sell him outside the league. And bring in that Tam. Thank you, man, pal. That's how you get to make your funny moves, Ken.
Yeah. My biggest concern on him actually is strictly, I struggle to see him with a right foot. And I know somebody's going to say he scored with his right foot.
Yeah.
I think I was a little bit lucky on that right foot at goal, but he struggles when he's taken to his right. And I would, if I was any coach and I said, Barreal's got the ball, I don't care if he's, just don't let him go to his left. Let him go to the right and take a shot. I don't care if it's wide open, because it's not that great of a right foot, in my opinion. And that's where I struggle to see how he fits long term, is because he's truly left-sided from a crossing perspective. And then I don't know if I don't think Noonan wants to play inverted, wide player. So that's
a little player, Ken, by the name of, you might have heard of him, Arjen Robben, might disagree with you. It is when players are 2-footed, it is an amazing thing to have. That makes them so good. Heung-min Son for Tottenham is 2-footed, and you cannot sit on one side. But if you are good enough and explosive enough on that 1 foot, all it takes is anyone to make a run. If Barreal is playing on the left, anyone that makes a run to the middle, that defender has to cover that run, and that gives Barreal the time to get onto his left. So if he was a 2-footed player with how he's playing right now, you'd be selling him for $10 million. In terms of, what you do with him, I think the hard part is a lot of people are saying, let's let Kubo go as well. And the team will have to bring in somebody who could play at the number 10 behind Lucho Acosta if you let Barreal and Kubo go at the end of this season.
all valid points.
Man, I just think it's funny. We started this segment with "Holy crap, Barreal's great," to "Let's sell the crap out of him." that took a dramatic turn.
But that's what his roster spot's designed to do, guys. We need to make money to put more money. I mean, if we sell him for more, then we get a bigger pile to throw into our pile to invest even more. So one good, very good Alvaro Barreal could equal 2 pretty good players later on.
And Brian's correct on that as well. I hate saying that, but he is correct.
I know,
Demand
man.
better, baby.
It pains me anytime to say Brian is. I can't even say it. Never mind. All right.
My wife can't say it either.
Let's talk it. Let's talk a little bit about Brenner's elbow, because that's a hot topic all of a sudden. Of course, we were talking about the fourth goal for FC Cincinnati. That was not Brenner scores theoretically FC Cincinnati's first goal in the first half, I think the 38th minute, and it was deemed to be ineligible by VAR because an elbow was involved. Fair or not fair, guys?
By law, yes, fair. Correct call. By law.
Yeah, the rule pretty much explicitly states that when a goal is scored, the handball law gets much tighter, right? So if there's a handball that aids the player at all in the run up or in the act of scoring a goal, it's a handball. Brenner heads that ball straight down at the ground, and then as he's falling, it goes off off of his arm and in. You can't even tell for sure if that ball was going to trickle over the line had he not hit it with his elbow. And by law, even if it was going in and hit his elbow, it's a handball. So I don't really see how you can have many complaints with that, other than the fact that it does feel like sometimes that same thing would happen against FC Cincinnati and it wouldn't get overturned.
I got more issues with the subsequent Lucho getting like studded up at his ankle and taken down the box than I did that handball.
All right, well, tell me about it.
Well, that didn't go to VAR either, though, did it?
No.
Yeah, so sitting on that far side, me and like 8,000 of my best friends got a little heated. We'll just say that. So we had the Bailey culture affecting us a little bit, but no, I couldn't see the goal or the lack of that handball in real time, but yeah, again, I don't think that the ref did horribly. I think that he sometimes let the game be dictated to him a little bit, but overall we won, and I'm thankful that we didn't have to rely on the thin margins of a ref error for this match, which we've done time and time again this year.
Yeah. Refs, I think at the end of the day, refs are human beings. They're going to make mistakes in some games. And not only that, you have a whole pool of refs that are inconsistent. That's if I'm going to knock Major League Soccer, the number one thing I'm going to knock the referee pool is that there are a lot of inconsistencies between the different referee groups. And
I mean, they're persuaded by a lot of things, and that's the one thing I get very interested on. If whether it's a team or the fans, I mean, it absolutely happens, and you can see it. I mean, there's a I can't remember what time it was, but there's a horrendous makeup call that I leaned to the guy next to me like, that was the weakest call I've ever seen, and it was 100% because we were like getting on his ass.
Well, I'm fine with every team has the same amount of home games and the same amount of away games. I'm fine with the home environment supposed to be skewing things, maybe 1 to 2%, a little bit more for the home fans. Okay, that's fine. That's an acceptable margin of the fans influence the game. However, everybody wants a fair game when their team's on the road. So with that being said, you have to give a little bit at TQL Stadium if you want to take when you're on the road, right? That's my opinion. So calling Brenner's goal, his elbow, not a goal, which is the correct call, 100% by the book. There is no arguing it, because that is literally what the law of the rules say. Then you just let it go. Let that one go, because you want the game to be fair. And past.
Yeah, sorry. The other thing that you have to remember here is, the referees being human, they're also coming in with biases that normal people have. Like, everybody can think of a player in the league right now that they just can't stand, right? That's dirty or that dives or whatever. The referees see that too. Exactly. So, like, I know for a fact that referees were talking about, when Kubo's first year in the league, how dirty of a player Kubo was. And if you remember, he got all sorts of yellow cards. When a guy has a reputation of being a dirty player, referees it's just human nature when you see a hard foul to assume that there was a little bit extra in that. Right now, FC Cincinnati has the reputation of a team that's going to whine a lot at the refs and things like that. And I think a little bit of that is undeserved, but also I do think that there is a bit of a situation here where certain officials come into TQL Stadium and expect things to go poorly. And because they're expecting it to go poorly, the confirmation bias happens, and, they miss a few calls because of that.
I think also, I think we're earning some respect within the referee culture itself. And I know that could sound counter to what we're saying, but a good example is Woboda. When he first came in, he got like a yellow card every game for like 5 games, it seemed like, whatever. But they just weren't used to him playing. Now that we're doing good, I think I do think Pat Noonan has some respect of the referee culture, even though he's had his blow up at the new NYCFC. But now Woboto's getting away with some of these plays that they're saying he's gotten to it clean. Sometime it may not have been as clean as it, they let him get away with it, and he's benefited from it. But they're recognizing he's a good enough player. So I think there is some. When we were bad, it didn't matter. They were just going to call us no matter what. I just think there is sort of a slow change occurring, and just my perception of it is I know the refs have not been great. But I think it's just a change of culture. And as our culture on our team changes, I think the referees' culture will change towards us.
And the only reason this is even a topic tonight, in my opinion, is because I wanted it to be. And there are so many elements of this fan base and other shows out there that are pushing the refs are awful, the refs are awful, the refs are awful. We have to, as a fan base, just come to terms with the environment that every other MLS fan base has come to terms with. And that is, I think Jose on Facebook tonight has made a really good point. The referees in MLS are uneven across the board. That is a true fact. Every team has to deal with that. However, we are not special in that we have to deal with this unevenness. We have a very aggressive team. We have Acosta, we have Barrial, we have Obi, a lot of players on our team that are a little bit more aggressive or ask for more fouls. And so that tends to sometimes bite us because of our style of play. However, this is something every team in MLS deals with, and there's not 100% consistent standard. So as fans, we should probably at some point jump on board with the same thing Seattle fans have jumped on board with, the same thing Atlanta or Chicago or New England fans have jumped on board with. Like they all realize sometimes they get screwed and sometimes they are benefit from inconsistent refereeing. That's just my hot take about that. It may not be the popular opinion because we have received some bad omens over the past few years.
Good job, B.
Sorry. That's just, I don't know why all of a sudden I cared about this, but I just seem to all of a sudden care about this. We want to give a shout out, though, to our wonderful sponsor, SwearOX. Probably a bad lead-in for them, but they are a awesome sports drink, so it doesn't matter what the lead-in is. It's still great, and we are happy to have them as a sponsor. Zero sugar, but a super hydrating, full of ions flavor. They got coconut, they got grape, they got the new lemon lime. Although it's not my favorite, I would stick with the grape because the grape is awesome. Also the strawberry. You can now find that locally at Jungle Gyms. I believe you can now find it at Kroger, but if you can't, if they're sold out because it's so in demand because everybody that listens to CST has already ran out and bought it all, then you can buy it on Amazon or you can buy it on swearox.com and use code CST 2022. So thanks for SwearOX for being a great sponsor. We should probably stop talking about this awesome Philly match, even as hard as it is. Brian, how about we jump into a little bit of MATT MIAZGA? You're a big U.S. national team guy, so you probably have the biggest lowdown on him.
So everybody who's listening to this show, we have a thing called show notes that we run down, and Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle has MIAZGA written out as a pronunciation on this thing.
Dude, what a sellout.
This is amazing. I just saw this. I'm like, we love Boston. So yeah, guys, very excited. Of course, on Friday, FC Cincinnati teases a big move at 11 o'clock, and it shows that FC Cincinnati fleeced Toronto for another, $125,000-$150,000 in GAM. So congratulations, Chris Albright there. But allows us to go out and get MATT MIAZGA, former U.S. men's national team player, former Chelsea kind of center back, who's he's been around a bunch of top leagues in Europe with Vitesse in the Netherlands, Nantes in France, Reading in England, Anderlecht in wherever that is, and Deportivo Alaves in Spanish La Liga. So guy's been around. He's still pretty young, I think 27 years old. Comes to FC Cincinnati on a max TAM contract, which can about 1.6 million.
Yeah, 1.6. Yeah.
So yeah, great, phenomenal deal for FC Cincinnati, coming on a contract that has, I guess, gives us a little bit more flexibility in what players we want to bring in the future. But overall, very excited for this high level player coming to FC Cincinnati. Coach, you did a dive down on him and had a little podcast breaking down his skill set. What are you looking for?
Yeah, I think that the big thing that he's going to bring to this team that we don't really have is the combination of excellent movement as a center back. The way he drops in or pinches into midfield to pick up forwards, drops off, gets sideways onto the field, drops deep to not get beat over the top. He does it so well that I said on the scouting report that I did, you could literally cut clips of him and use it to show young center backs how that movement should happen. It's like it's been drilled into him so well that he knows exactly where to be and when to be there. He does have a few flaws in his game. I don't think that he's as good a passer as Tyler Blackett or even Ian Murphy, but he's not terrible in that regard either. He's probably just as quick as a guy like Nick Hagglund, so he's not going to be the fastest center back out there, but he's not going to be slow or plodding either. So I'm really excited what Miazga can bring because, a defense, especially a back line, is only as good as your weak link. And if you bring in the best center back on your team and drop off the worst, you didn't just improve in one spot. You improved the second best center back and the third best center back too, because everybody rotated down a notch.
No, I agree with you guys. I think that this is, if FC Cincinnati is making the playoffs, this bet has to pay off. And this is, I'm on the record the last show or two saying, I don't know if one signing is enough. And I feel like, actually, I know, because people have already sent me the screenshots of them saving that, saying, if we make the playoffs, Boston, here is your voice imprint of saying that.
So, Coach, this is where it gets me before we get to the finances with Ken. I think you've said it, and I think there's a lot of people out there on, with MLSsoccer.com saying that he's probably fitting in that right center back role. What does that do trickle down to kind of what you just said? Like, Hagglund has been one of our, two best center backs? He's the right center back in the back three. Where does he go? Yeah,
I think personally for this season, Miazga probably will slot in at the center because of that, because Hagglund has been so good lately. I don't think they want Nick Hagglund's playing in the center. So from there, if you played Miazga on the right, you'd either have to do Miazga, Cameron, and Murphy, or maybe let Murphy play in the center and bring in Blackett. So if you want to, as badly as I do, get Jeff Cameron and Tyler Blackett onto the bench, then I think you have to play
do you disagree
in the center.
Do you disagree with me, though, that I swear Jeff Cameron had his best game this week?
No, but he has good games, but then he has bad. He's so inconsistent this season. Okay. And I think what starts to happen is he actually doesn't perform too inconsistently. But when the midfield does not get appropriate pressure in front of him, he doesn't trust his speed. So he starts to drop off more. And then a problem that's already there, which is the midfield not getting good pressure, becomes worse because there's a bigger gap as Cameron drops too deep, worried about getting beat in behind. And that's when you start to see a ton of space out there between the midfield and the back lines. So Cameron, actually, if they did play Cameron in the center, I wouldn't cry about it. I'd be totally fine with that. My disappointment there would be Nick Hagglund probably rotating onto the bench just because he's a right footer, because I don't think you're going to want to play Ian Murphy or Tyler Blackett out there or play Nick Hagglund on the left. So I think that would rotate him off. And I think he's been the best center back so far.
Another topic.
I was just going to say, I think the play would be almost Cameron plays 60 minutes and then you rotate Hagglund on and push Miazga into the center at that point in time, if you're going to do it that way. I think Cameron's weakest point is actually his physical ability, stamina, because once the 60-minute mark, I mean, on the game Saturday, I was sitting there going, he's got to come off. He's got to come off because you just expect it. And Brian, you're right. He played his best game and he stayed on. And but I think traditionally Noonan's trying to sub him off to get those dead legs off the field so he's not dropping off.
Ken's
like
nailing it. We are not a 90-minute center back team. We have a lot of good center backs that play 45 minutes. Fine.
I don't know about you, but never mind.
90 minutes. Okay, so coach, again, Miazga, he wasn't brought on to be a three-man center back. You bring him in to be a back four to allow us to get additional people in the midfield, correct?
I think so. I think that what you're dealing with right now is not the center back position being the problem anymore. Now that Miazga is there, I don't think that you have the outside backs or the midfield that can play the way you want. Because if you want to have Lucho Acosta on the field, you cannot play a 4-4-2 flat unless you want to put Lucho Acosta out wide or something, which I don't think you want to do. So you either, in a 4-4-2, you have to bring in Johnny Nelson to play left back, so you lose the offensive threat there. And then if you want Lucho to be out there, you either have to play him as a forward, which sits either Brenner or Vazquez, or you have to play him out wide, or you have to play in a diamond. And I don't know that we have the midfielders that we can play in a diamond yet. So I think when you start to look at how to put the best team on the field this year, you have to stick with that 3 center back system. And this will give them the flexibility, though, heading into next year to maybe, look at moving into a 4-4-2 diamond.
Yeah, I mean, you were on the call with Pat Noonan and Chris Albright this week, and it was they were very clear that this was a future focused move.
Yeah, they said probably, Albright said probably 5 or 6 times, this gives us the ability to win now and continue to win and be competitive and stable in the future. You can tell that's a really big point of contention from him and the back office staff, front office staff. I don't know. Anyway, the backroom staff, that's what I'm looking for. They are looking to stabilize the team now and try to push for playoffs and win. But more so, they're looking to become a stable club that is in that conversation every single year.
Now, Boston, I'm taking your hosting duties over.
Oh, you're fine. Go for
Ken,
Yeah.
how does this contract make this long-term move more attractive than bringing him on as a DP?
Oh, obviously we couldn't bring him on as a DP, but from a long-term perspective, I think I put this out though. First of all, let me backtrack. Chris Albright is a genius by getting that GAM. He saved front office money, the ownership money, by doing that. People don't understand that maybe, but that money was all about saving some TAM, which is Carl's money. So he does that. But from a long-term perspective, we're going to drop, and I say we're going to drop. We're most likely going to drop Kubo and Cruz at their current salary. But I ran out I wrote up a dummy sort of 2023 where we're starting roster, and MATT MIAZGA basically settles the back line as is, other than a right back. And we're going to have roughly 9 open spots. And I say that on the senior roster. And Chris Albright's going to have like $4 million to play with to fill those 9 spots. So MATT MIAZGA does not hurt this roster at all, because he's basically replacing Kubo, Cruz, Blackett, Cameron. If you look at those 4 existing contracts, his contract is way less, and he kind of replaces all of them, and and some of that being dead weight, and you free up money to replace those positions already with the extra money. So I don't know what else to say at this point. He just helps the roster long term from that. He stabilizes the entire roster for Albright to make moves next year.
I mean, yeah. Alan Cruz and Yuya Kubo were both on like $1.2 million contracts. This moves 1.6, so $400,000 additional in allocation money.
And Blackett was $800,000.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, enough money's falling off. I'm not too worried about this one, and I'm been the guy preaching the conservative financial accounting, blah 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 on this show.
But Boston, you said it. This is Chris Albright's big play, because at $1.6 million as a max TAM player, that is a have to hit kind of player. There's no missing. He has to play, 90 minutes for 27 games or 26 games a year. that has to be an expectation and play well.
Yeah, I don't doubt that
you can't blow that kind of position.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he bet that this is the center back of the next 3 years. And that is when you pay that kind of money, that's what you're betting. And I hate to turn the page, but we have to. We are running low on time, and we have plenty still to get to. So let's jump into, I guess, a segment we would call goodbyes and cap space. And we did a little bit of the cap space talk, but let's say goodbye, guys, to Harris Medunjanin. What is the legacy Harris has left on this club for you? We'll just quickly run through all three of you. Brian, start it off.
Blue collar, hard work, great mentor for the young players.
All right.
Yeah,
Coach.
I was going to say, I jumped in. Sorry, Coach.
You're fine.
I'm taking your spot. I was going to say the little birthday cake or whatever they going away cake that they had and hit with the two young guys there, and you could just see it in their relationship with Harris that he had a huge presence on that team from the younger guys. And Brendan Aronson from Philadelphia also mentioned at one point in time how big of a influence he was. So I think he's a big miss, going to be a big hole from that aspect for the young guys.
I think that's the thing. I think that it's mentorship. I hope to heck that he passed on his ability to stay fit and healthy at 37 years of age down to some of these players that are starting to hit, late 20s, early 30s, because it is truly a feat how many minutes he has played at this stage in his career, not necessarily this season, but last season, the season prior. He has just been such a good player to have on the team because he's always healthy. He's always available. And so I hope that's what his legacy is. And like everyone said, you've heard countless players talk about what he has meant to them in terms of a veteran role model, teaching you how to be a professional.
Very, very well spoken. I don't think I can add anything to that except good luck, Harris Medunjanin, as you head home and hang out with your family and tidy up your career. Next, we're going to have Brian Weigel tell us all about Atanga, because if anyone championed Atanga more than seriously, there's no one left in the FC Cincinnati fan base that has championed Atanga more than Brian Weigel. So, Brian, he goes out. This is probably maybe the last time we see him.
Well, you record 300 episodes, you're bound to say something stupid. No, he's loaned out with a buy option to Göztepe, which is the club that Nwobodo came from. So congrats to him. Congrats to Chris Albright getting this money off the books at least. Poor guy just doesn't fit in this system. There's absolutely no place for him. I think Barreal did a Herculean task in adapting to a wingback role, and I just don't think Atanga is ever going to get there. So best move for everybody, I think, just clean our hands and ship him out the door. And it's not like it's a bad situation. It's still a very ambitious club with a great structure in the second division of Turkey. So wish him all the best, and I wish it would have worked out better here.
Well spoken. If you have to clean up your mess, that's the way to do it. Somebody said just a leftover from Stam and the 4-3s. So,
and just to be clear, next year if he's still here, I can see us using the buyout on him. His salary is not high. That's all we would have to buy out as a salary. We just lose $4 million in transfer fees, which is a big hit. So that's the biggest miss on him is the transfer fee.
That's the dream, though, right? Is that they pick up the loan option and they take him from us, Ken?
Yeah, they pay something for him, I guess.
Can I say something real quick? I know we're running out of time. How badass is it that we have an ownership group that allows Chris Albright to make this move? Because if this was Philadelphia Union, we design our whole offense to try to get this guy to work. So that cannot be underestimated or understated.
Agreed.
Fair enough. One last thing, Ken, while I have you here, we have how much left in TAM GAM space? I think I saw like 200,000-300,000 last check.
Yeah,
is there any way to spend it at this point with the window closed?
Free agent.
Yeah, free agent. And don't get caught up in the buckets of TAM GAM. There's $278,000 I have roughly that we can play with. They can move that money around and use it all however they see fit. But it's going to be a free agent like dare I say, now I can't think of his name from last year. The fullback.
Chris Durkin
Chris-
Duncan
Dirk.
something.
It's not Durkin.
No,
It's
not Durkin.
Chris was his first name. Duvall.
This is
Duvall.
Duvall. Yeah,
Yeah,
this is
Duvall.
how much of an impact he made on the team.
Exactly.
But-
You know,
So
when
you're-
I was on the call with Chris Albright, he said that they were close on a couple of free agents. Now, I can't imagine them bringing in multiple free agents that are going to have any sort of an impact. But my hope is that there is a guy that can replace Harris Medunjanin already on the roster that is just going to get a few more minutes. A guy like Harrison Robledo, or I think there's another. A prospect on FCC2 that's been playing attacking mid that's looked pretty good. I think he's injured lately, but Valenzuela, I think is his name, something like that. So somebody like
Robledo wasn't listed on the MLS roster. I didn't know if they did a complete year-long transfer to the MLS2 team, which if they did that, he can't be called back up. That's one of my concerns.
That would explain one of the questions we had in the comments earlier that said Roberto ? Question mark.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that site's well known to be incorrect. So
Yeah.
But
Coach, speaking of being on call, I heard a rumor you were going to be taking over the CST Twitter tomorrow, maybe shouting out some kind of a press conference you're supposed to be on. Is that true?
It's news to me, but it can be true. I am going to hopefully join the press conference with MATT MIAZGA. The Twitter part of that I did not know, but I am happy to do that for the loyal CST listeners, as long as they don't boo me if I get something wrong.
We put you at the front of every conflict so that I can stay safe, Brian can stay safe. This is just how it works. We need a fall guy. So.
Don't worry, Coach. We won't. Ask. We know you won't ask. Albright to be fired or something. Miazga doesn't work out, so we'll be fine.
Well played.
All right. We have one last segment we really, really have to get into, and that is Brandon Vazquez playing in the All-Star game, possibly a U.S. men's national team call-up. A lot of news has really broken in the last 24 hours about Brandon. It's been really hard to keep up with, so if you haven't caught up with it, tomorrow Brandon has taken the place of who was that?
Tati
No,
Castellanos.
he took the place of Castellanos on the roster, but he took the place of Insigne
Yes.
on the skills challenge.
Yeah,
Which,
so
if you're tuning in on TV, that's a big shakeup.
Yeah. So tomorrow,
Who?
Brandon will play in a skill challenge that was not scheduled until like 2 hours ago. We just found out about that. So hopefully there's some way for us to tune into that live. For Wednesday, for the All-Star game, the club has a viewing party at Rheingeist. You can watch the MLS. If you don't have ESPN, that's the place to go. They're giving the first 100 people free beers. Rheingeist is probably your best spot if you don't have ESPN. If you do, stay at home, chill on your couch, and enjoy Brandon Vazquez getting some time in the MLS All-Star game.
It's like
Let's-
turn on the home run derby and expecting Mike Trout and getting Brandon Drury.
I can't even relate to that, honestly. I don't know what in the world you're talking about.
Oh shoot!
But shoot, I mean, this is the year of Brandon Vazquez, and now we're looking at a possible U.S. men's national team call-up. We talked about it a little bit at the top of the show. I don't even know what to think about everything that Brandon has achieved this year. Just real quick, what are you guys rating his chance of possibly getting called up? Is it going to happen?
More than his
Am I getting my
chance,
hopes up?
more than his chance of getting transferred to Chivas for $500,000.
Oh my goodness, dude, that's just the week of Brandon stories. That's one of them, and it's because of how many there are. That's literally fallen to the bottom. But if it wasn't, we would already have been talking about that.
We can touch on this at a later show, Boston. But I mean, if he gets called up to this September friendlies, there's some absolute question marks about the chances of FC Cincinnati squeaking into the playoffs for the amount of travel and time that is going to be required for him or Miazga to get into camp, back, travel, all that fun stuff. So
That's the one thing no one's talked about. So you mentioned it. What are FC Cincinnati's games that would be impacted? If Brandon gets called to camp, this is whether or not he plays or not, we're missing Brandon Vazquez in some key games for making the playoffs.
So the formal break where you have to, I don't know if you have to release them, but is September 19th through 27th. So FC Cincinnati, we play at RSL on the 17th. So you think you could probably play there. We got that throwaway game versus Chivas on the 27th, on the 21st. Sorry, then you play at Seattle on the 27th. Then come back home and play Chicago on the 1st. So in theory, Brandon Vazquez could miss a game at Seattle on the 27th because that's when USA plays Saudi Arabia. And you would think that he would probably have some sort of travel rest issue going into that Chicago match. So it's very likely that he could, in those 3 league games, that he maybe not play in 2.
That's a big deal.
Reduced minutes in 2.
You're talking about a club that is points away from falling under the playoff line, points away from just passing the Crew, but that's about it because the top 4 are a little bit above us. It would take more than a game or 2 to pass them. I mean, you don't want to deprive Brandon of going, though. I mean, that's a little too selfish, Coach. Where does national team versus club loyalties lie when you get to the end of the season?
I think you have to look at the bigger picture in that regard. As fans, it's really tough. But if FC Cincinnati put their foot down and said, no, you're not going, and he wants to go, that is not a good look. Players don't want to come to a team who are going to do that. You know, what I think we could do is, not that this has ever been done, but we could just say that he's hurt and not send him to camp, but then start him in the game anyway.
What a move, Coach. I think you definitely have to let him go.
Yeah, and it's good for Cincinnati. It's good for the club to have that visibility if and when he gets onto the field in a friendly or World Cup warm-up and they're saying, his home club is Cincinnati and they talk about what he's done in the orange and blue. Like, that is good exposure for the club. It's good to have the club on the national stage. It's good to have him and Lucho in the All-Star game because people start to see FC Cincinnati as a real team and don't, I wear my hat around California here and people looking like, what team is that? Who is that? Whereas in Atlanta United, they're just as far away from California as FC Cincinnati is, but people recognize that, and that needs to stop, and it will as the players get more recognition.
Again, this is a selling league. So this is his value. If you're looking, on our screen right now, his value is doing this right now. As soon as it hits USA, it does this. So that's something to really think about. Getting him those minutes. Honestly, I want him a part of the red, white, and blue. But if he can get to Qatar in red, white, and green, I'm okay with it too.
Yeah, that's the other thing we haven't talked about, but it is a very real possibility. If the United States passes Brandon up, and Mexico calls him, he's going. He's got both options.
It's not like he doesn't know who Tata is or Tata doesn't know who he is.
Right. He played for him. So that's a realistic possibility. Doyle's been preaching the get him before Mexico does on Extra Time and everything. His weekly column on MLS. So if that's the case, I'm kind of with you, Brian. Like, just let's let Brandon represent one way or the other. I prefer the United States snag him while they can. But if not, it's not, dude, how much would, this is totally off topic, but how much would Chris Albright look like a genius for bringing in Sergio if all of a sudden Brandon gets pulled out for those games and then Sergio's back and he's starting?
You have to hit him or Dombaji. You have to get going.
Yeah, we haven't even seen
you have to start playing him.
Yeah, I think Sergio will be back any week now. He's supposedly been practicing pretty hard. So
Baji dressed for the last 2 matches.
That's right. You're right. Baji's back. So
I think just this past match was his first time being back on the bench.
Hilariously, if FC Cincinnati is rich in any position, it's the attack. So it's the thing I'm least concerned about, honestly. Brandon Vazquez, go play for the United States.
Knock on wood, throw salt over your shoulder, and run around your house right now. Sorry, Boston's leaving us for the rest of the show.
All right. Well, we got we always like to end the show with this segment. I mean, it's becoming more and more important. So I love that this segment actually means something all of a sudden. How many points do you guys need? Like, if FC Cincinnati is making the playoffs, shoot, there's what? How many games left? 10-ish. So
10.
Yeah, 10.
And the next four or five are at home. So
13 points. 13 points get you in the playoffs, in my opinion. If you look over the past 6 years and then take out 2020, because it was a shortened season, the average amount that gets you into the playoffs is 45 points, or 43 points, something like that. The high there, I think, is 48 points, which was last year. Right now, the middle of the table is so congested. People are taking points off of each other. So I think the low end of that will get you in. With 5 home games remaining, with 6 games against teams that are below FCC in the Supporter Shield standings, really it is in FC Cincinnati's hands. If they take care of business against the teams where, in Ken's betting model, they might be favored, I think that they will be in. I think 13 points gets you done here.
So Coach is a pro at dealing when feeds go down by dealing with Justin Hoyt for so long. Honestly, FC Cincinnati, I think points per game, or I don't know, whatever this metric is, have like the 4th or 5th easiest, I think, average points remaining, 4th or 5th easiest schedule remaining. So that's something to at least look towards. I think if they can win 4, I think they got a heck of a chance that they win 5. They're golden. Which, again, that's ridiculous considering we've been at 1.4, 1.33 points per game. So
win at home and they're in.
I think, Coach, you said 43
Riding
points. 43 points, or did you say 13 more points?
13 more points, I think.
So 45 points. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my model, 45 points is right on the fringe with 3 teams sitting there 6th, 7th, and 8th. And I think 47 is probably the safe line for me. So 47 is for sure in. 46 is a little gray, and 45 is a little more gray. And I think 44 you're out. So I would say somewhere 15 more points. Yeah.
3 points
47
for Atlanta is huge this week.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
47 points would put, if they finish 7th with 47 points, they would be the highest point total for a 7th place team in the past 6 years. So that's why I think, the 45 probably gets it done. But I see Brian frowning at me. Am I wrong there?
48 and 40. 2 years
48
ago
last year.
48 last year, I think. But you have to remember the past couple of years that FC Cincinnati's had 20 points. I think last year we had 26 points or something like that.
There's been so many draws this year.
And there's one team that has fewer points than that by 1 or 2 right now. So, yeah, I think that number will come down. So, yes, I think you're accurate that it will be less than 48.
That's what I mean. Yep.
And then you got the fact that Philly and New York City, both the top 2 teams drop 0. They drop games this week. So it's not the middle is just so congested because of that. The runaway teams in the East are not running away like they should be, and the middle is all just huddling together.
The floors come up too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. This year's kind of wild. The fact that we're all just stuck here in this middle lane. But yeah, I'm with you, Brian. You win versus Atlanta. I think FC Cincinnati is in perfect condition to go to New York. And if they lose, they lose. And we're not stressing because they did their job against Philly. They did their job against Atlanta. That is an acceptable game to lose at that point. And then you can come back home and you can
tell Obi and Lucha to go studs up, get yellows, and not travel.
Yeah, we got Columbus right after that.
Simple.
So yeah, I'm okay with you there. I'm 100% okay. Go get your suspensions and play versus Columbus. If you have to lose, let's do it against New York.
Can we go 4D chess here and say, Obi is pretty close to getting a game taken off for good behavior? I think if he has 2 more matches, can you start him, play him 8 minutes, and then sub him off and have it count as a game?
Ooh, if Obi's not in there, I'm worried.
Well, if you're going to have him get a yellow card anyway, my point is, if he can make it through the next one without getting a card, maybe you just play him just enough to make it count, and then sit him and let him get one taken off.
I really want Lucho to be there for Columbus, but I would love some sweet justice versus Aaron Long in New York for him.
The one thing I've done since taking over this show is keep this show closer to an hour tonight. You guys have pushed me. You've made me more like a Nick Superling. I apologize to all the viewers that are used to the 1 hour mark. But we want to give a shout out real quick to our supporters. Thank you all. I'm not going to read the names this week because there are so many and we are already running late. But you can support us over at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. Or you can hit us up on Patreon. Just search for us there. And that's the spot. Everything that we're 100% basically fan supported. We get a little bit support from our sponsors, but it's all up to you guys, and we appreciate everything you do for us. It is not undertaken. Take a look at our website. I've been remodeling it so that it's a little bit easier for you to find games, match reports, etc. You can now search by the year all the way dating back to 2016. You can look at Brian Weigel's super old graphics and see how far we've come.
Those are good.
So, yeah, look, our old logo especially is hilariously bad, but no, it's kind of fun just to see where you came from and see just a bunch of noobs trying to write about soccer in 2016. So that's where we were. That's where we're not ashamed of that history. Honestly, we still like to think of ourselves as just a bunch of fans chatting about the game, hopefully with a little better graphics nowadays. We hire somebody to make Coach sound better every week. So appreciate you tuning in. It's been an awesome hour. FC Cincinnati, win some more so we can have some more of these fun shows. We appreciate it.
Hey, can I cut in here for a second?
Yeah, do it. Go for it.
Hey, as a supporter, guess what you get to do? If you support CST, you get to participate in the Growler Cup. And this was the end of this game against Philly. Was the end of round 2, and I would just like to thank Dave Tangler, Sarah Gorman, and Bob Ryan. They finished first, second, and third in the second round of the Growler Cup. We have a third round, which is just a 10-game sprint. So as a supporter, you get to join and play for free. So when Boston sends out that email, submit your scores. For the final round, I just wanted to point out Dave Tangler and Lee Epling will start off with 2 points because they both won their rounds. And then Sarah Gorman, Bob Ryan, and Rupesh Sharma, Wes Anastasi, and James Dembo will start with 1 point to start the final round. But prizes are doubled. Come join the fun.
Good shout. Good shout. I was totally supposed to throw this to Ken, so he did a great job of interjecting there. No, the Growler Cup is awesome. I think everybody that participates, if you're on a Patreon, you are predicting every score every week. And some of you have done a killer job. You know how I know you've done a killer job? Because I've been also predicting scores, and I am not good at it. Oh, my goodness. Like, it's amazing. Like, Dave Tingler just shoot like 7-8 weeks in a row predicting the correct result. Blows my mind how smart some of you guys are. You guys should be on this show. All right. Now that I've done all that, don't forget to tune in to the All-Star Game. Support Brandon Vazquez and our boys on Wednesday. And then we are back at it this weekend. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We will see you again this week with more podcasts and next week on Monday night.